Welcome back to the channel, and as you can probably tell, this isn't my shop. If you're a subscriber to the channel, you may have seen some recent videos I published where I was machining a cast iron straight edge. Ron Grundy, who you may have been introduced to through Keith Rucker's YouTube channel, a former Kearney and Trekker employee, invited me and a couple of other guys up to his home shop on the outskirts of Milwaukee to learn a little bit about hand scraping. Ron has probably forgotten more about machine scraping than I'll ever have the opportunity to learn. But when he offered to put on this little impromptu class, I jumped at the opportunity. There was no way I was going to let this pass by. Along with myself, Ron has also invited Kevin, who I've met through Facebook and the K&T Facebook page, as well as Kyle Vanover from Vanover Customs. And if you aren't familiar with his YouTube channel, you got to check it out. I put a link down in the description. And Ron is quite the storyteller. He's got quite a few to share. So the remainder of this video is not going to have a lot of narration. It's just going to be listening a little bit to what Ron is going to be teaching us, and then we'll get a little bit into the scraping itself.
Okay, what I was going to do is first give you a little background of who I am. You guys might have seen me on with Keith Rucker. 30 years of doing this stuff, and now kind of doing it for a hobby and kind of kind of doing it for fun. And I just enjoy showing guys, and everybody will say, oh, you know this, you know that. Well, we don't know everything. When you look at a machine tool when it comes out of the factory, when it's first machined, the two surfaces running together, you'll have a flat surface here and another flat surface on top of it, just like that. You run them both together, you slide that back and forth, and you have no lubrication or anything under there. Pretty soon, she's going to be done. So you got lubrication going underneath there. You'd have a piece of cast iron here, a harden on the top, or vice versa. What we're doing when we're hand scraping is we're taking a flat and we're scraping. We're making our scrape indentations there, and we're trying to get say we're trying to get a divot in there, maybe 4/10, half a thousand deep. We're trying to get that in there so that when this other piece rolls over the top of this, and you've got a little area here that's got oil in it, and I'm talking about a very small area that's got lubrication in it. If there's any debris or anything in there, that'll fall down in there, and the theory is to wash it out of there. You want to wash it out of there, and that's what you're doing when you're scraping. You're running those two pieces together, and just like my hands are cupped here, when I've got that little piece in my hand, and it rolls out of there, we're trying to wash it out of there and clean it. That's the theory behind this. Now our straight edge, let's just say that this is a straight edge. Okay, and we've marked it maybe on a granite plate or something like that. And here we've got, it's marks like this, here and here and here, and we've got nothing in the middle here. Okay, so we're gonna start, scraping this end or this end and practicing that, and that's about the biggest thing I can tell you guys is that it's a huge amount of practice. You're not gonna do this in a couple of days of scratching and scraping here. It's gonna be a couple of days of practice, a couple of months, a couple of years maybe, because like I said, I know the first time I started doing this, they gave me a plate, and it took probably about a month before they said, okay, you can work on a machine now. You know, you can do this on a machine. So you can see, and I haven't marked this at all. I haven't done anything with it for a long time. So I just want to take a good cut through it. Now this is an old school scraper. This is what you would use for, probably have to tie that end down. This is a blank file, and it's been heat treated. But I'm just going to take a cut right through here, and it's kind of a rough cut. You know, if you guys can take a scraper like this and make a nice straight, you know, flat cut like that, you know, you're in business. This is a Sandvik with a carbide. Okay. There, see, I got a little better. That side. This side is not as sharp as the other side. You guys, like I said, you can do like this if it's easier for you. You know, you can scrape like that, and that's just fine. You know, you'll have, and then when you come across it, you know, come back across it this way.
So whatever's comfortable, really.
Yeah, whatever you're comfortable doing. And this works pretty good, you know.
Are you hitting the pretty much a 45? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll come across it the other way.
But if, yeah.
You know. I don't know if you need to stand on that maybe or not.
Well, after a little bit of a demonstration, you know, Ron encouraged me to go ahead and give it a try. So I'll give it a try. This is the first time I have ever tried to scrape anything in my life.
See how easy that is?
Yeah.
It's easy to screw it up.
I see why you put your hip into it now.
So why are my scrape marks so much thinner than yours?
Well, you're just not putting the pressure.
It's
but
pressure?
That's okay. You know, you can't.
I feel like if I put too much pressure on it, it's going to go sliding off and end up stabbing Kevin in the gut.
Well, what about the angle, though, too? It looked like your angle was a lot lower.
So lower angle?
Maybe. Depends on how, you know, angle is comfortable for you. And I don't know how sharp that. I got some more blades.
One thing I appreciated that Ron was trying to teach us is that there are more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to hold a scraper, and there's lots of different techniques. And you have to kind of work toward what works for you.
Real low. He like putting his body weight on it.
Yeah, this is old school one.
See how he's putting it in his.
Yeah.
Okay, this one's cutting good now. You can try this one.
Down a wheel.
At this point, what I'm trying to do is mimic everything that Ron was trying to show me. And I know that that won't be the way that it ultimately turns out to work for me, but it's at least a starting point.
Just file it.
But that cuts better, right?
Yeah, it cut a lot better.
Yeah.
So what is this made out of? An old file or a file blank?
That's a file blank, yeah. And that was swedged out and heat treated. You're getting a good, you know, that's what you're looking for. Yeah, see that? That's a nice cut, just like that. That's what you're looking for. And you know, after a while, you'll start being able to pattern it, you know.
How much downward force are you putting with your left hand when doing this?
You know,
Or are you just steadying it?
See, I'm thinking, you're right. I got too much here now.
see that.
My hand was getting tired.
Yeah.
So how much pressure are you putting here?
Not a lot. Not a lot. Nope, not a lot. Some cast iron is really soft, This piece, it's pretty tough.
Even though Ron doesn't do this every day anymore, he certainly still makes it look so effortless. It's like he doesn't even have to think to put the little half moon or fish hook flaking pattern into the part. It just sort of happens for
Only
him.
takes 30 years to get that good, make it look that easy.
Yeah. So that's enough scraping for the day.
I can't imagine doing this for 8 hours a day.
Okay. Now I made each of you.
Well, in order to check our work, we need to blue up another reference piece. Ron made each of us a dauber, which is a triangular shaped piece of wood with a piece of leather glued to it. And he's just using that to spread either some Prussian blue or whatever marking dye that you happen to use.
On this angle piece of hardwood, it seems to work really good for me. I see guys use rollers, they use, but anyways, we'll mark this and see where we're at. I should have a little longer gib. It's not the correct one, but I want you guys to start hitting the high spots, to learn how to hit the high spots. And when you're marking something, with a gib, see it pivots here and here. That's you want to just lightly, and if you use too much bluing, it's not a good idea either. But I used quite a bit just to show you what this'll do, and it's so it's telling me that this piece is pretty damn flat, we could have a little more out here and a little more out here and some of the areas in here. But now what you're going to do is we're just going to break up, we're going to break up our high spots. See that? I'm just trying to...
You're just going after the blue?
I'm going after the high spots.
Okay.
And that's... And what I told you in theory when we first started, you hit one, and there's supposed to be four more on there,
This feels really nice in my hand. This might have to go home with me.
You'll see that. It's pretty nice. The blade is good. Brand new blade. If it's good for you and comfortable, but if you can do it this way and you get used to doing it this way,
I'm terrible at
then,
this.
When you're about my age, you'll be going to the chiropractor every week.
The worst thing that happened.
Well, there's a story that's been told in my family for as long as I can remember, and that was how my Uncle Joey taught my brother how to swim. He picked him up and threw him into the pool. So the story does have a happy ending. My brother didn't sink, he swam. And it's one of those life lessons, I suppose, that even though maybe it didn't happen to you, that you can take it and run with it. So for things that I may not be all that familiar with, I often use the expression, I don't mind jumping into the deep end of the pool. Of course, some pools are deeper than others, but it's kind of how I started getting into machining in the first place. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into when I bought my first lathe. I guess you could say I jumped in the deep end when I decided to machine a cast iron straight edge that I spent quite a bit of money on. And after only practicing for a little bit on Ron's practice piece, here I am jumping into the deep end of the pool to get started on scraping that straight edge I spent so much time getting machined to be ready for this class.
He's got what? I was like, that's ridiculous. He's like, we do it by weight. I'm like, what's the weight of it? He's like, I don't know, maybe 2,000 pounds?
Yeah.
I'm like, it's going to take 10 minutes. He's like, well, we got a forklift here. I'm like, look around at this machine. Like, Ricker's.
Yeah.
Man.
never done one.
Bid spot is what I use. I've never used proxy bid. Is that how does it like cut?
And I gotta get your paperwork.
Okay, yeah. Make sure I don't sue you, right?
That's the same thing. Ah!
Is it because it's sharper?
I think it's because it's sharper.
Okay.
This is like this is
There's so much to
that
learn.
leads to that. Yeah.
Like you could work 10 years just on one little aspect and master that, and then there's a whole other group. You said that last time they came up here, which was like a year ago.
I saw a YouTube video recently in which the creator was scraping in a straight edge, and he went over the one side 31 times. So there's pass number 1. So I'm just using a stone here to get rid of any of the burrs that got popped up from the scraping, and then we'll take it over to the surface plate and see what it looks like.
So you put the red lead on there just as a way to highlight. I've seen people use
Yeah,
that, that yellow
like whale
connote. I think
oil, or
Keith
I
uses
use
like that
hydraulic.
yellow
Yeah,
connote.
You know, just
they
like a
make
light.
a couple
I
of
guess you could
different
use engine
types.
oil before it got dark.
Right.
Something like lighter looking. Mostly because I didn't want to buy lead, you know.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now we can see it. See it?
Okay, yeah.
Now you see what you got there. Just right along in here, because watch how it pivots on the granite. Assuming this granite is flat, you know. Okay, so we set it on there and just waltz it around lightly. But here,
It's
see that?
pivoting there. And we want it, what, like a third and
Yeah.
a third?
Now, what we were talking about, you can press that down and I can make it.
I can make it pivot there, sure.
Yeah, you know, but you know, you're gonna go from here to here, you know, just
In
kind
the
of
other direction.
just kind of pick everything you see.
So should I just go over the whole thing in
No.
that middle this way?
No, just go where your bluing is, you know, and then stone it off again, and then you'll lose a lot of this.
And then
but
eventually
it'll
it'll
start
start to-
moving out, you know.
Okay.
And that's what you're looking for. Yeah, there you go.
So for pass number 2, I am coming across the other direction, but only in that middle part where the blue was most prominent. I also have a light set up here so I can see the shadows and highlights from the scraper marks, and it helps me see where I was before, helps me identify the blue areas a little bit better so I can hit this next pass and make sure I'm staying where I should be staying.
I gotta stop gripping so much with my left hand.
It's looking good though. I mean, I like, you know.
I'm trying to be as methodical as I can be.
You know, you can get by with this, you know. I mean, you don't, even if you got a machine and you do a nice crosshatch like that, all kind of in a pattern, it looks nice. You know, I mean, it's not against the rules. I mean, just because some guys can make fish hook, fish tails and make it look beautiful, it don't mean you know.
There's blue in there.
You should be going this way. That's okay.
This way?
Yeah.
That's all right. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, stoner off good.
I didn't stone. Look at that. First mistake.
So this is kind of wash, rinse, and repeat here. So this is after the second bluing. So it's spread out the blue area a little bit wider than it was before. So I'm coming back and just widening the scraping area from the center and moving out toward the ends.
It's like that.
Yeah, no,
Try that one.
you're doing okay.
Do the same technique with that and see what you think.
This one?
So is this your S12 you're trying to get rid of, Ron? I think you had one of these machines posted, right? It is.
Hey Ron, can we open this up? Column will be your bag.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's not mine, but yeah.
Oh, that's my bag. That's fine.
Well, this is after the third pass, and we're starting to see some really interesting progress. The
I'm making some
pattern
progress.
is starting to be more dot-like and is spreading out toward the ends a little bit more.
All the way up to about here.
Oh yeah.
He makes us look like we don't know what we're doing over here.
You know, you're doing such a good job, and I mean, this is a learning curve. This is not, we're not working today. I mean, if you were
Right.
at the shop, I'd be saying, hey, come on, get that guy cut, you know.
Okay. Pass number 4.
Am I going too fast?
No, I mean, you're going too fast for me. I think I was getting these out for.
Oh, yep.
There's
Okay.
the safety clutch, your rollover clutch, all your gears in there, you know, everything, you know. Only 38 times left.
Well, this is number 30. This is number 4. So
How much am I taking off? 2,000, 3,000. You know, that's probably all you're taking off. You want to be careful.
Yeah, whoever had that really got it down.
That big little.
Is this different? Do you have blades for yours?
The website, seeing where it was soft and about 400 line off of it. I don't tell you that at all.
Right.
I mean, you can take some material off of that too.
How long have you owned this for?
Oh, did you? Oh yeah, it's sharp. That's probably original,
Right.
you know.
Definitely.
I mean, they just.
Kevin opted to use Ron's straight edge as his practice piece rather than using any of the stuff that he ended up bringing with him. One of the things he brought was a really nice Camelback straight edge that he bought off of somebody who thought it was a level. Anyway, he opted not to touch it because it looked like it was in pretty good shape, so he decided to leave it alone and instead concentrate on practicing his technique on this piece.
Particles or whatever. If you could look under a microscope.
now, what's that blade from? That's just an
This is
automotive.
an automotive carbide scraper on Amazon. They're like $20, and then I just put a radius on it. And
so
then,
it was a straight.
And then on the other extreme, Kyle brought in the compound slide of a lathe he purchased that needed some tweaking. So his practice piece is going to be a component of a piece of machinery.
It's easy to sharpen.
Man, that smoke is bad, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
crazy.
you didn't know? What is it? A
It's
forest?
the Canadian forest fires.
Always going to need to check. You know, once you get done with the face of the column, say you got this thing laying on its back, you're done with the face of the column, then you're gonna scrape, you know, the positive side, and then you're gonna run this side parallel. You want them to be parallel, you know, because your knee moving up and down, you know. Then we put our fixture on here. You see it's on the face here. It's on here. Now I put an indicator here. All right. I'm gonna go up. I'm gonna put an indicator here, and I'm gonna indicate this. Now, you've got a test bar. This is a 40 taper test bar.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to remember, on all these machines, horizontal machine like this spindle is straight to the world. You know, I mean, this is what it is right here, the spindle. Everything else is built to this spindle. You know, your geometries, all of your geometries, everything is comes off of here. I remember when I first started, they said, you're going to be learning geometries on it, and I panicked because I said, Jesus, I can't even do algebra. I mean, no. It's a whole different concept. It's geometry, but you think about it, you know, you're correcting this geometry. You know, you indicate it over the bar, it was a little high. You scraped the back of the knee, you dropped it down a little bit. The side of the knee was out. We had our square on it. It's important to know, you know, how to do these geometries, or to even know what the hell they are. You know, that's an important thing. You know, it's old, but it's not gone.
Right.
You know.
Ron also has a biax power scraper that he brought out, and Kyle opted to go ahead and give it a shot on his compound.
This is way easier, and in some ways it is, but in other ways, like, I'm more sore from doing this than I was doing that. Okay, that's like,
Yeah, this is actually for.
I opted to stick with the hand scraper for my straight edge. I really want to only use hand scraping on this, just for practice sake, if nothing else.
right, is it that one there, that nut? Or
Over and then start really picking it for the small.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, should I pick at it, or should I do this whole?
I don't know that I would say it's easier.
Yeah,
Or should
do
I
the
just-
whole thing, and once you start hitting out here, then you
Then I
pick
can
it.
start picking at it. Okay.
Yeah.
I think yeah, that's a project for tomorrow.
That's right.
Holy moly!
Let's see.
So
Now when you get really tired of doing it, see that
it's
like,
hinging in
That's
better
good, yeah.
spots.
I'm liking it. Here, now here I'll show you. You know, in the old days, the inspector would come along and he'd say, "Oh, it's really good," but then the guys would take a little block with bluing on it and rub it on there, you know, out the door. But you know, if you look at this now, this is, you know, really a good example. Now you got her pretty well roughed in. Let's say it's roughed in. Now you look at all your high spots here. You know, you can tickle a couple of these and leave this here, and then take it all the way down, and then hopefully she starts to fill in there. You know, I mean, we're not gonna rough cut it. We're not. I mean, it's nice and it's getting really nice and flat. You're probably only about maybe a half 1,000 there. You know, right there. So, I mean, and as when you get it just like this all the way, then you concentrate on breaking them up. You know, like I said, you're not gonna learn this in 2 days. You guys are gonna take away. I hope you take away some stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and add to it all the time, watching other people. Hey, guys, what up? Heard you're busy training down here.
Yeah, I mean, this is close, right? There's variables. If I got a little bit of dust under there, you know, that's... Alright, so we'll go front now like this. Yeah,
Let's put some glue in on the gift side. You could glue the whole thing up there and then just throw that on.
zero scoring, they look like a meter. So I figured the machine was probably fine, but I wanted it. Yeah. I would have compared to the other one. You can tell immediately this one just doesn't cut.
Well, yeah, then you got 2 corners. So you gotta make sure it goes tipped a little bit, you know, So, I don't know if you can get it very good on.
Ron spent a little bit of time also chatting with us on, once you get your surface flat, how you can give it a really nice appearance, and demonstrating his technique on how he gets that hook pattern into the surface.
Oil divots in there, making it look, you're giving it that appearance, you know. I mean, you want your customer, now when Kearney and Trecker built these machines, they wanted people to come in and go, whoa.
So are you rolling it and then back in the same stroke, right?
Yep.
So you start in your left, you roll it this way, and then roll it back in one
I'm
stroke.
using this hand. This hand, I'm putting pressure on it. Now, watch. Okay.
I tried to capture how he was doing this in a slow motion video, and it really didn't come out all that great, but you can kind of see that rocking motion that he's talking about.
My wrist, I'm rolling it.
So you're
Like
starting
that.
with the left side and then rolling right and then rolling back left.
Right, right. Try the old school one.
And you got the handle in your hip, and you're using your hip to.
Yeah, I'm using my hip. And, you know, so I don't know how that looks.
Oh, it looks good.
It looks good to me.
Yeah.
Now,
We also spent a little bit of time talking about how you can use Tersite to build back some wear in a gib or some other machine surface.
okay, so now I'm gonna, what the problem is, when I put the gib in, like all your Bridgeports, any of your machines, put the gib in, it goes an inch too far in. Everything's wore out.
Right.
Okay, so now you can do it one of two ways. You can add the material to the saddle on your positive side, which I like to do. I like to put it on the positive side, and then what I'll do is I'll grease everything up, glue the material on that dovetail, slide it over there, take the gib, tap it in, nice and snug. Make sure that's all greased up because you got glue on there. You don't want this thing to be, you know, stuck forever, you know. So anyways, I shove it over there, tap the gib in, let it set, okay? It'll set up with, I use a 2-part epoxy.
Okay.
If you machine something, you know, and you need to bring it up, you know, 30, 40 thousandths, Tersite works excellent. And then I'll score that. Just like that. Just put a, and then I'll spread the glue on there, okay? Put it on there, and then either put a weight on it. I got a couple of weights that I put on it. And when you put your Tersite, if you're gonna put it on the gib, you put it on the wear side, okay? And then the other trick is you got it all ready to go back in. You cut the center out of it. You don't want a big hump in the middle. You got a hump in the middle, then you're doing one of these numbers, you know. I'm telling you, this Tersite is the way to go on.
So we talked about this briefly yesterday. The chrome ways
Yeah,
on a Bridgeport.
yeah.
They wear. What do you do to refinish those practically? For guys like us, what would we do to try to?
Don't tell anybody.
This video's not recording.
I use a little disc grinder.
And you do
You
the
know,
little notching
because
or
they're-
whatever.
You know, you can see it's more in the center. I'll use a little disc grinder, just, you know, zip, 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 just like I'm scraping it. You know, and sometimes I can even make it look like it was scraped.
Yep.
And I'll grind it. Oh, we had one of those what you were talking about yesterday. Radio.
One of the best parts about the 2 days really was listening to all of the stories that Ron was willing to share with us, and he had quite a few.
They had it laid down, and when I walked in there, the guys had straight edges. You know, the thing is, you know, 10 feet long,
Okay.
and they had big camelback straight edges, and, you know, like 30 thousandths is war. So I'm on one end, Louis on the other end. He's got a disc grinder, and I don't mean a little one. I mean a big one. And we ground it with a disc grinder and marked it until we started hitting in the middle, you know. Then we started scraping it. But, you know, sometimes, and some of them big machines, the big Kernian Trekkers, like a number 6 or something, some of those tables, you know, they'd be 40 thousandths, 50 thousandths bent, you know. And when they put them on a planer, like a big banana, you know, I mean, over in Cairo, Egypt, right? They came and said, oh, your machine is very, very bad, very bad. What's the matter? You know, why is it very bad? Well, look, and a guy shows me a cutter body and inserts, I mean the holders it's all chewed, you know. And I said, well, where are the inserts?
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, they looked at me like. So then I told them, I said, now listen,
Oh man.
I know how companies work, and it was a Greenleaf cutter, right? So I said, if you guys bought all this stuff, they sent you the inserts with it, you know. I mean, they don't put them in the,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
They sent you the inserts, so me and one of their maintenance guys go around this huge complex, and we finally find a building, and he says, I think maybe, you know, and I go up there, and I spotted right away, I spotted Kearney and Tricker, the drive belts, extra belts, you know, because they send a machine overseas.
They send a bunch of extra stuff.
They're going to send, because you're not going to call them up and get parts, you know, instead all kinds of extra stuff there. And then I find these boxes of inserts, you know, here, you know, put these, you know,
Oh my god.
and then the next day I come, they're cutting away, you know, everything is, then they're all happy, you know. And then and the Egyptian guy says, oh, you're very good engineer. You stay 1 year. And I'm like, where's the American consulate? and this is this. I go to the airport. I'm going home. I got to get on the airplane at 11:45, whatever it was. So I'm at the airport. Some guy comes and he says, you come with me. You come with me. You know, okay, I go with him. Come, little room, sit down. I sit down. Guy walks in, got a little machine gun, sits right there. And I'm like, hey, how's it going? You know, I'm like, of course he doesn't speak any English, you know. And I'm watching the clock, and the airplane is supposed to take off at 11:45 or whatever, you know. It's 10 to 12, it's 5 to 12, it's 12 o'clock. You know, finally somebody opens the door, come, you know. I go with them, and now this is a 747. It's on the end of the runway, running, waiting for yours truly. The only person left to get on that airplane. They take me down there with one of those cars with a ladder about 80 feet long. Get all the way down there, open the door, raise that thing. I gotta crawl up this ladder, get on the airplane, and I got 200 people looking at me like, what the hell are you? We're waiting here on the tarmac for 15 minutes. I sit down. I go, I never knew what that was about.
Never knew what that was
Never
about?
knew what that was about. No. So, anyways, enough stories. Get to work.
Well, back to work on my straight edge. I lost track of just how many passes I had taken up to this point, but if I had to guess, I'm probably 8-9 passes in. I'm at the point now, though, where I've got some coverage across the entire surface, so I'm doing more spot scraping. I'm looking for the larger areas of blue and putting the scraping there. I'm not looking for individual pieces of blue, but in those areas where there is some blue, I'm scraping in that general vicinity. But if there's an area where there's not a lot of blue, I'm staying away from it.
And then they'll disassemble, and then they'll outsource the head to a machine shop, which will just do the head. So they'll like bring it there in the back of their truck, they'll machine it, and then they'll bring it back to the auto shop. And the auto.
Well, I figured it was my turn to give the power scraper a try. Not on the straight edge, but on Ron's practice piece here that he has out for us. Well, if you've watched guys like Keith Rucker or Lance Baltzley or Adam Booth use their power scrapers, they really do make it look easy. And it's really a lot more unwieldy than I was expecting. The machine itself is heavy. It's not terribly heavy, but it's heavy. And holding it at the right angle and moving it at the right speed is something that's going to take just a little bit of practice.
I think that really, oh my gosh, it's so hard to control.
Well, it's practice control.
Yeah, I'm not going to use this on my straight edge just yet.
Oh, come on.
I'm happy to use that on mine. I use that on this.
Yeah, there's no way I'd take it to that.
You're not
You
as
got-
crazy as I am.
You got more guts. Well, maybe crazy guts, maybe they're the same thing. Maybe there's some,
That don't look too bad, though.
but this thing gets away from you quick.
It does, yeah, it does.
I want one.
Well, I made it back home safe and sound, and this is where I left the straight edge. One of the first things I did when I got home was to build this fixture or jig or whatever you want to call it that'll make it easier to hold the straight edge as I continue scraping on it. I also made up some marking dye after I got a second-hand tip from Kyle. He saw it somewhere else. This is 30 weight oil with concrete dye mixed in it. I made up a red batch for the contrast and then the blue for the marking compound. Ron was gracious enough to gift me this hand scraper. I am going to continue using this to finish out the work on the straight edge. I have this piece of A2 tool steel that I'm going to use to make a couple of new blades with different radii. And I still have that piece of carbide blade that Ron gave me, and I figure I can probably make some kind of a holder for this to hold that carbide. We'll have to wait until I get a better grinding setup. I have an old treadmill motor which I think will make a pretty good diamond lap. Well, that's it for this video. I'll try to post some updates from time to time as I make some more progress on the straight edge. But I had a blast, and I couldn't be more grateful to Ron for inviting us up to share a little bit about what he knows. Hit that thumbs up if you like this video. That really does help with the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.